The cargo bay doors of the Galactic Explorer opened slowly. Captain Taemin stood at the entrance, his hands relaxed at his sides. He had met new alien species before, but never one like this. The Vrix were huge, easily 3 meters tall, with dark scales that seemed to absorb the light. Their eyes glowed a faint yellow, and when they moved, it was with the confidence of creatures who had never met anything stronger than themselves. 3 Vrix warriors entered the ship. The one in front was the largest, wearing armor that gleamed like polished stone. Behind Taemin, his crew stood ready. Dr. G1 held her scanning device, taking readings of everything. Lieutenant Hyun-Sik had his hand near his weapon, though he knew better than to draw it. Engineer Yuna watched the aliens with the careful eyes of someone who fixed broken things for a living. Vrix stopped 3 meters away. His chest expanded, and he released a sound that was half roar, half words. The ship's computer translated quickly. "I am High Dominance Kreth. You will show submission to the Vrix Empire." Taemin tilted his head slightly. "I'm Captain Taemin of the human exploration vessel Galactic Explorer. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations." Kreth's eyes narrowed. "You do not bow. You do not lower your eyes. Do you challenge me?" "No," Taemin said calmly. "I respect you, but I don't submit to you. Humans don't organize ourselves that way." The other 2 Vrix made sounds of confusion. One of them spoke to Kreth in their own language. The computer translated it as, "Does he not understand the testing? Is his species broken?" Kreth stepped closer. His shadow fell over Taemin. "All species have hierarchy. All species have those who command and those who obey. Who commands your ship?" "I do," Taemin said, "but not through dominance. My crew follows me because they trust my judgment and experience. Trust." Kreth repeated the word like it tasted strange. "You mean fear of your strength?" "No, I mean trust. They know I value their skills and lives. I listen to their advice. We work together." G1 stepped forward, her scanner still active. "If I may explain, our species evolved differently. We survived not by being the strongest, but by cooperating. We hunt in groups, share knowledge, and build on each other's ideas." Kreth stared at her. "A female speaks without permission from the male leader. And you allow this?" He looked back at Taemin. "Dr. G1 is our xenobiology expert," Taemin said. "She has more knowledge about alien life than I do. Why wouldn't I let her speak?" The 3 Vrix exchanged glances. One of them rumbled something that translated as, "Impossible. No species reaches the stars without dominant structure." Kreth's tail swished behind him, a sign of agitation that G1's scanner noted. "You claim cooperation. We shall test this claim. The Vrix Empire has met 67 species. All have hierarchies. All can prove their strength. You will face the validator." "What's a validator?" Yuna asked from the back. "A creature," Kreth said, his voice carrying pride. "Created by our ancestors. It recognizes only one thing: dominance. If your species can show dominance over it, you are worthy of contact with the Vrix. If you cannot, you are weak, and the weak do not deserve the stars." Hyun-Sik stepped forward. "And if we refuse this test? Then you are afraid. Fear is submission. We will mark your species as subjects of the Empire, and you will obey us or be removed from space." Taemin looked at his crew. G1 nodded slightly, her scientific curiosity clear. Yuna shrugged, ready to face whatever came. Hyun-Sik looked unhappy but prepared. The captain turned back to Kreth. "We accept your test, but understand, we won't try to dominate anything. That's not who we are." "Then you will fail," Kreth said simply. "Prepare your cargo bay. The validator will arrive within the hour." The Vrix left the ship. As soon as they were gone, Hide-and-Seek turned to Taemin. Captain, this is a trap. They're going to release a monster, and when we can't control it, they'll claim ownership of us. Maybe, Taemin said. But if we refuse, they'll see it as weakness anyway. At least this way, we learned something about them. G1 was already scrolling through her data. I'd been scanning their biology. They have glands that release dominance pheromones. Their brain structure shows in large sections for hierarchy processing. They literally see the world in terms of who's above and who's below. Can we fake it? Yuna asked. Pretend to be dominant? Doubtful, Ji-won said. If this validator creature is designed to test for dominance, it will look for specific behaviors we don't naturally have. It's like asking a fish to pretend to fly. An hour later, a Vrick ship approached. It docked with the cargo bay, and a massive container was pushed into the space. The Vricks sealed the connection and retreated. Kreth's voice came over the communication system. The validator is in the container. When you are ready, open it. Show your dominance, or accept your place beneath us. Taemin looked at Hide-and-Seek. You're our security expert. You should take lead on this. Hide-and-Seek nodded and grabbed his weapon. Everyone else, observation room. I'll handle this. The crew moved to the protected viewing area above the cargo bay. Hide-and-Seek stood in the center of the bay, weapon ready. He keyed the container release dot. The door opened slowly. At first, nothing happened. Then a shape emerged from the darkness. The validator was like nothing they had seen before. It had 6 legs, a body covered in thick armor plates, and a head that was mostly teeth. It was the size of a ground vehicle, and it moved with terrible speed. Hide-and-Seek immediately went into combat stance. He fired a warning shot at the ground in front of the creature. The validator stopped, its multiple eyes focusing on him. That's right, Hide-and-Seek called out. I'm in charge here. Stay back. The creature tilted its head. Then it charged. Hide-and-Seek rolled to the side, firing again. The shots bounced off the armor. The validator turned, faster than something that size should move, and charged again. Hide-and-Seek ran, using cargo containers for cover. From the observation room, G1 watched her scanner. It's not reacting to his aggression. It's not even reacting to the weapons. What do you mean? Taemin asked. Watch its eye movements. It's not tracking the gun. It's tracking his posture, his voice pitch, his movements. It's looking for something specific. The validator cornered Hide-and-Seek. The lieutenant stood his ground, weapon raised, every muscle ready to fight. The creature stopped 1 meter away. It stared at him. Then, slowly it turned around and walked away. What just happened? Yuna asked. Hide-and-Seek, breathing hard, spoke through his radio. I don't know. I was ready to fight it, and it just lost interest. G1's eyes widened as she looked at her scanner. Because you didn't show dominance. You showed readiness to fight, which is different. The creature is looking for specific behaviors, submission or dominance displays. Fighting is neither. The validator turned back toward Hide-and-Seek. This time, it moved faster. The lieutenant fired, ran, and tried everything he knew from combat training. Nothing worked. The creature wasn't trying to kill him, but it wasn't leaving him alone either. It kept charging, stopping, watching, then charging again. Through the communication system, Kreth's voice came, confused and interested. Your warrior fights well, but the validator does not recognize him. Does he not know how to show dominance? Taemin watched Hide-and-Seek dodge another charge, breathing heavily now. An idea formed in his mind. A crazy human idea. Hide-and-Seek, fall back to the observation room, he ordered. The lieutenant didn't argue. He ran for the door and sealed it behind him. The validator stood in the middle of the cargo bay, alone. It turned in circles, searching for something it couldn't find. Tae-Dashman smiled slightly. I think I understand now. G1 Yuna Sang-ho from Communications, you're with me. We're going into the cargo bay. Captain? Hyun-sik looked at him like he was insane. Trust me, Taemin said. We're going to do what humans do best. We're going to solve a problem together. 2 days after the validator incident, High Dominance Kreth returned to the Tadok Explorer. This time, he came alone and seemed less certain than before. Captain Taemin, Kreth began, his massive form filling the meeting room. The VRIX Council has debated your actions. We cannot understand how you reached the stars without dominance. But the validator's response cannot be denied. You are different. We've been trying to tell you that, Taemin said calmly. The Council has decided on a new test. Not of dominance, but of results. Kreth's tail moved in what G1's data suggested was uncertainty. We have a problem that has plagued our empire for many cycles. If your cooperation is real, if it is truly effective, you will solve this problem. What kind of problem? G1 asked. A mining world. Rick 7. Our workers fail to meet quotas every cycle. We increase enforcement. We replace weak overseers with strong ones. We punish failure. Nothing works. Production drops each year. Yuna frowned. You want us to fix a mining operation? If cooperation is superior to dominance, prove it, Kreth said. Make our mine productive. If you succeed, we will consider alliance with humans. If you fail, you will accept that dominance is the only way, and you will submit to the VRIX Empire. Taemin looked at his crew. They had come to explore space, not solve alien labor problems. But this was a chance to prove humanity's worth without violence. We accept, Taemin said. But we do it our way. No interference from VRIX overseers. Agreed, Kreth said. You have 30 days. The journey to VRIX 7 took 4 days. Taemin brought G1, Yuna, and added So-jin, their medical officer. They also brought Sang-ho for his communication skills and technical expertise. When they arrived, the mining world shocked them. The operation was massive, with thousands of workers digging precious metals from deep underground. But the conditions were terrible. So-jin saw it first. Captain, look at those workers. They're injured. Many of them shouldn't be working at all. Through the observation window, they watched as VRIX workers, smaller than the warriors, but still large by human standards, carried heavy loads. Many limped. Some had visible wounds. A VRIX overseer, who introduced himself as High Dominance Breck, met them at the landing platform. He was even larger than Kreth, with scars covering his scales. You are the humans, Breck said, his voice full of contempt. You look weak, soft. You will fail here. Maybe, Taemin said. But we'd like to see the operation first. Breck led them through the mine. The humans saw horrors at every turn. Workers who suggested better methods were beaten. Skilled workers who outperformed their supervisors were punished for showing disrespect. The equipment was old and dangerous, breaking down constantly. Yuna stopped at one drilling machine. This is ancient, and it's been repaired wrong. See these welds? They'll fail within days. A small VRIX worker nearby looked up, hope in his eyes, but quickly lowered them when Breck glared at him. The equipment works, Breck growled. If it breaks, we beat the workers for being careless. That's insane, Sang-ho said before he could stop himself. Breck stepped close to him, using his size to intimidate. You question me, small thing? No, Taemin said, stepping between them. But we need to understand the situation to fix it. That's why we're here. In the workers' sleeping areas, So-jin asked to examine some of the injured. Breck reluctantly agreed, seeing it as proof of human softness. So-jin found broken bones that had healed wrong. Infections from untreated wounds, and exhaustion so severe some workers could barely stand. This one, Sojin said, pointing to a Vrix worker with a badly infected arm. Needs immediate treatment, or he'll lose the limb. Then he will work with one arm, Breck said simply. We all serve the Empire. Sojin's face went pale with anger. But Taemin touched her shoulder, calming her. That night, the human team met in their temporary quarters. This is wrong on every level, Sojin said, her voice shaking. They're torturing their own people. Not in their eyes, Ji-won said, looking at her notes. To them, this is normal. The weak serve the strong. The strong enforce obedience. That's their entire civilization. The equipment is failing because skilled workers are afraid to speak up, Yuna added. I saw at least 3 people who knew exactly what was wrong with the machines, but they stayed silent. Because fixing it would show they know more than their supervisors, Sang-ho said, which would be seen as a challenge. Taemin stood at the window, looking out at the mine. So we have workers who are injured, exhausted, and afraid. Equipment that's breaking because no one can fix it properly. And overseers who think the solution to everything is more punishment. How do we fix this in 30 days? So Jin asked. We do what we do best, Taemin said. We talk to people. We listen. We treat them like they matter. The next morning, Taemin asked Breck to gather all the workers. The overseer was confused but agreed. Hundreds of Rick's workers stood in the main yard, looking nervous. They had never been gathered except for punishment announcements. Tae-Dashman stood before them. He looked tiny compared to them, but he spoke clearly. I'm Captain Taemin. My team is here to improve this mine. But we can't do it without your help. We need to know what's wrong and how to fix it. The workers looked at each other in confusion. Breck laughed. They are workers. They know nothing. They dig where told, lift what ordered, sleep when permitted. I don't believe that, Taemin said. He pointed to the small Vrix worker they had seen the day before. You, what's your name? The worker's eyes went wide with fear. I am called Kresh, Captain. Kresh, you work with the drilling machines, right? Yes, Captain. What's wrong with them? Kresh looked at Breck, terror in his eyes. Breck growled a warning. It's okay, Taemin said gently. You won't be punished for answering. I promise. You cannot promise that, Breck said. I am High Dominance here, and we have authority from the Council for this project, Taemin replied. So yes, I can promise that. Kresh took a shaking breath. The drilling machines. They need new pressure valves. The old ones leak, making the drills work harder and break faster. I know where to get the right parts. I know how to install them, but you were never allowed to do it, Yuna finished. Kresh nodded, still trembling. Taemin turned to address all the workers. Here's what's going to change. If you know how to fix something, you fix it. If you know a better way to do a job, you do it that way. If you're injured, you see our doctor. No one gets punished for being good at their work. The workers stirred, confused whispers spreading through the crowd. This is wrong, Breck roared. You undermine all authority. You create chaos. We create efficiency, Taemin said. Give us 1 week. If production doesn't improve, we'll leave and you can go back to your old ways. Breck wanted to refuse, but he had his orders from the council. He snarled and walked away. Over the next days, the transformation began slowly. Kresh showed Yuna where the right parts were stored, forgotten in a warehouse because High Dominance had never asked workers for advice. Together, they repaired the drilling machines. So Jin set up a medical station. At first, only a few workers came, afraid it was a trick. But when they were treated with care and kindness, word spread. Soon there was a line of injured workers seeking help. Sang-ho worked with the communications team, finding that many workers had ideas for improving efficiency, but had never been allowed to share them. He created a simple system where workers could make suggestions without fear. G1 documented everything, noting how the workers responded to being treated as people rather than tools. But the biggest change came from something simple. Taemin created work schedules that allowed for rest. Workers who were exhausted made mistakes. Rested workers were faster and safer. By the end of the first week, production had increased by 20%. Equipment failures had dropped by half. Worker injuries were down significantly. Breck watched all this with growing rage. On the 8th day, he confronted Taemin. "You make them soft," Breck hissed. "You remove their fear. Without fear, they will not work." "They're working harder than ever," Taemin replied. "Check the production numbers. Numbers mean nothing. You undermine the natural order. The strong command, the weak obey. This is how the universe works." "That's how your universe works," Taemin said. "We're showing you a different way." Breck's tail lashed. "I challenge you. Ritual combat. When I defeat you, your experiment ends." "I refuse your challenge." "Coward," Breck spat. "No, just practical. Fighting you doesn't solve anything. The numbers speak for themselves." That night, something unexpected happened. Crash came to the human quarters, looking nervous. "Captain Taemin, I must speak with you." "Of course, Crash. What's wrong?" "The other workers. We have been talking about what you have done here. How you treat us. How you listen." Crash's voice was thick with emotion. "We have never been treated as if our thoughts mattered. Never been allowed to use our skills fully. Some of us have worked here for 20 years, and this week, we felt alive for the first time." Taemin felt the weight of those words. "We're just treating you with basic respect. To you, it is basic. To us, it is revolution." Crash hesitated. But High Dominance Breck grows more angry each day. He sees this as an insult to all Vrick's hierarchy. He will do something terrible soon. Please be careful. The cargo bay door opened, and Taemin walked in first. Behind him came G1 with her scanner, Yuna carrying a portable equipment case, and Sang-ho with his communication devices. The validator turned to face them, its armor body gleaming under the lights. "Captain, this is insane." Hyun-Sik's voice crackled through the radio from the observation room. "Maybe," Taemin replied calmly. "But fighting it didn't work. Let's try something else." The validator charged. Not at full speed, but fast enough to be terrifying. Taemin held up his hand, stopping his team. "Don't run. Don't fight. Just observe." Ji-won activated her scanner, her hands shaking slightly but her voice steady. Vital signs elevated. Body temperature increasing. It's preparing for something. The creature stopped 3 meters away. Its multiple eyes studied each of them. Then it made a sound, deep and rumbling, that shook the floor. "Sang-ho, can you analyze that?" Taemin asked. The communication specialist activated his equipment. "It's not language. It's more like a test signal? Like it's waiting for a specific response." "What kind of response?" Yuna asked, slowly setting down her equipment case. "Unknown," Sang-ho said. "But the pattern suggests it expects something back." The validator circled them slowly. Ji-won kept her scanner pointed at it, recording everything. "Its behavior pattern is similar to what I've seen in Earth animals that establish territory or pack hierarchy. But it's not aggressive. It's searching." "Searching for what?" Taemin asked. "For someone to dominate it, or for someone to submit to it," Ji-won said. "Those are the only 2 options it understands." Yuna opened her case and pulled out a containment field generator. "I'm going to try setting up a barrier. Not to trap it, just to see how it reacts to obstacles." She activated the device, and a faint shimmer appeared in the air, creating a wall of energy. The validator walked right through it without slowing down. It doesn't recognize the barrier as a challenge, Yuna noted, because no one directly opposed it. The creature came closer. Now it was only 2 meters away. G1 could see the details of its armor, the way each plate overlapped the next. Fascinating. This creature was engineered, not evolved. Every part of it is designed for one purpose: to test dominance. Taemin finished. Sang-Ho tried different frequencies with his equipment, sending signals to the creature. Some made it pause, but none made it respond. It's like talking to a locked door. It only opens if you have the right key. The validator suddenly moved faster than before. It swept its armored head sideways, and Yuna had to jump back. Her equipment case went flying. "Everyone okay?" Taemin called. "Fine," Yuna said, breathing hard. But that was close. G1's scanner beeped urgently. "Wait, look at this." When it attacked Yuna, its eye movements changed. It was tracking her retreat, measuring it. "Measuring what?" Sang-Ho asked. "Submission distance," G1 said, her eyes wide with understanding. "It's calculating how far she ran, how fast, the angle of her body. It's trying to measure if she's submitting to it." "But I'm not submitting," Yuna protested. "I just didn't want to get hit." "To the creature, there's no difference," Taemin said. "It only understands dominant or submissive. Practical self-preservation doesn't compute." From the communication system, Kreth's voice interrupted. "Humans, why do you not fight properly? Why do you not show dominance? Your warrior tried and failed. Now you bring weak ones with devices. This proves nothing." Taemin pressed his radio. "High dominance, Kreth. We're studying the creature. That's what we do. We learn before we act." "Study?" Kreth sounded genuinely confused. "The validator is not for study. It is for testing. You pass or fail. There is no middle option." "For us, there's always a middle option," Taemin said. The validator charged again. This time, it targeted Sang-Ho, who stood frozen with fear. At the last second, G1 stepped in front of him, her scanner held up like a shield. The creature stopped. Its eyes focused on the device. "G1, don't move," Taemin said quietly. She stood perfectly still, holding the scanner. The validator's head tilted, examining the device. Then it made that rumbling sound again. "It's confused," G1 whispered. "I'm not running, but I'm not challenging it either. I'm just here." "Keep doing that," Taemin said. "Yuna, can you retrieve your equipment without triggering it?" "I'll try." Yuna moved slowly, circling wide around the validator. The creature's eyes tracked her, but it didn't move. It was too focused on G1 and her scanner. Sang-Ho, still behind G1, whispered, "Should I move?" "No," Taemin said. "Everyone stay calm. We're not threatening it, and we're not submitting. Let's see what it does." The validator took one step forward, then another. It was now less than a meter from G1. She could feel the heat radiating from its body. Her hands trembled, making the scanner shake. "Steady," Taemin encouraged. "You're doing great." "Captain, my legs want to run very badly right now," G1 said, her voice tight. "I know. But don't. Trust the data. What's your scanner showing?" G1 glanced at the screen without moving her head. Confusion patterns in its brain activity. It's cycling through response protocols, and none of them match what we're doing. The creature made a new sound, higher pitched, almost like frustration. "We're breaking it," Yuna said, having retrieved her equipment. "Not physically, but conceptually. We're outside its programming." Kreth's voice came again, and now there was something new in his tone. Uncertainty. "This is wrong." The validator always finds dominance or submission. Always. In 10,000 years? Across 67 species, it has never failed. Maybe, Tamin said. It's never met a species like us before. The validator suddenly backed away from G1. It turned in a circle, its movements almost agitated. Then it charged toward the far wall, stopped, and charged back. It was pacing. It's stressed, G1 said, finally lowering her scanner. Her arms ached. We're causing it psychological distress by simply existing in a way it doesn't understand. Taemin made a decision. Everyone, let's try something. Work on your tasks. Ignore the creature. Act like it's not even here. That's insane, Sangho said. It's human, Taemin corrected. We're good at ignoring things that don't fit our current task. Let's see what happens. G1 went back to scanning. Yuna set up her containment equipment again, this time adjusting the settings. Sangho ran through his communication frequencies. Taemin walked to the wall panel and checked the cargo bay systems. The validator watched them. It moved between them, studying each person. But when no one reacted to it, when no one challenged or submitted, it seemed to freeze. It doesn't recognize dominance, G1 said, panting slightly from the stress. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. Because we're not offering any. We're not challenging it. We're not submitting to it. We're just working. To the creature, we might as well be invisible. The validator made that frustrated sound again. It charged at Taemin, but the captain simply stepped aside, not running away, just moving to access a different control panel. The creature stopped, turned, and stared. Yuna laughed suddenly, the sound sharp with relief and realization. We broke it. We actually broke it by being ourselves. Through the communication system, they could hear confused discussion among the Vricks, multiple voices talking over each other. Words like impossible and error and malfunction came through the translation. Finally, Kreth spoke. Stop. Cease your test. We are retrieving the validator. Why? Taemin asked. We're still studying it. Because it is broken, Kreth said, anger and confusion mixing in his voice. You have broken our validator with your strange behavior. Or, G1 said, speaking up so the Vricks could hear. Maybe your validator isn't broken. Maybe it's working exactly as designed. It recognizes dominance and submission. We simply aren't showing either one. The cargo bay filled with silence. Even the validator had stopped moving, standing motionless in the center of the bay like a statue. Impossible, Kreth finally said. All intelligent species have dominant structures. Not like yours, Taemin replied. We'll let you retrieve your creature. But high dominance, Kreth, this conversation isn't over. We need to talk about what this test really proved. The Vrick ship docked again, and several warriors entered cautiously. The validator went with them without resistance, as if relieved to be returning to beings it understood. After they left, Taemin's crew gathered in the observation room. Hyansik looked shaken. That was the strangest combat situation I've ever seen. And I didn't fire a shot during the important part. Because it wasn't combat, G1 said. It was communication. We told that creature, in the only way we could, that we're different. We don't fit their categories. The question is, Yuna said, what do the Vricks do now? We didn't pass their test, but we didn't fail it either. Taemin looked out at the stars through the viewport. Now we wait and see if they can understand that there's more than one way to reach space. More than one way to build a civilization. His radio crackled. Kreth's voice came through. Captain Taemin, we must speak further. What you have done today has never happened before. The Vricks Council must decide what this means. We're ready to talk whenever you are, Taemin said as the communication ended. G1 pulled up her data. I recorded everything. This is going to change our understanding of how different species can be. If the Vrix let it, Sang-Ho added quietly. The second week began with a crisis. Taemin arrived at the mine to find production stopped. All the workers stood in the main yard, looking terrified. Breck stood on a platform above them, and beside him was Kresh, badly beaten. What happened? Taemin demanded, running forward. This worker dared to repair equipment without permission from his supervisor, Breck announced loudly. He presumed to know better than his superiors. This is the result of your soft ways, human. So Jin was already moving to help Kresh. But Breck's guards blocked her. He fixed a critical coolant system that was about to fail, Yuna said, her voice tight with anger. He saved lives and prevented an explosion. He acted above his station, Breck replied. Under Vrix law, this requires punishment. We have authority here, Taemin said, trying to keep calm. The council gave us full control of operations. The council gave you authority to improve production, not to destroy our society, Breck said. I have contacted them. They are reconsidering this experiment. Taemin felt everything slipping away. If the council ended this now, these workers would suffer even worse punishment for daring to hope. Let me treat Kresh, Sojin called out. Then we can discuss this properly. Breck considered, then nodded. His guards stepped aside. Sojin rushed to Kresh, her medical scanner already working. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding, severe bruising, she muttered, working quickly. You're going to be okay, Kresh. I'm sorry, Captain, Kresh whispered through pain. I failed you. You didn't fail anyone, Taemin said firmly. You did the right thing. While Sojin worked, Taemin turned to address all the workers. Everyone, back to your duties. Continue working as we've taught you. This isn't over. The workers hesitated, looking between Breck and Taemin. Obey the human, Breck said with contempt. For now. Soon, all this will end. Over the next days, tension grew. Production continued to rise, now 40% above the original quotas. Equipment failures were rare. Worker injuries had dropped 70%. But Breck undermined the humans at every turn, spreading fear among the workers. Yuna found sabotage in the equipment. Someone deliberately damaged this. The repairs we made were undone. Breck, Sang-Ho said. He'd rather see the mine fail than admit we're right. G1 had been studying the Vrix social structure carefully. It's more complicated than that. If Breck accepts that cooperation works better than dominance, it invalidates everything he believes. His entire identity is built on being strong and commanding through fear. So, what do we do? Sojin asked. We can't force him to change his mind. No, Taemin agreed. But we can show him that there's no shame in it. That evening, Taemin requested a private meeting with Breck. The overseer agreed, clearly expecting the human to surrender. They met in Breck's office, a space decorated with trophies of dominance challenges he had won. Have you come to admit failure? Breck asked. No, I came to understand you better, Taemin said. You've been overseer here for 15 years, correct? Yes, I earned this position through strength. And in those 15 years, production has dropped steadily. The council has criticized you multiple times. You've replaced workers, increased punishment, and nothing worked. Taemin's voice was gentle, not accusing. That must have been frustrating. Breck's tail lashed. I did everything right. I followed all protocols. The workers are simply weak. Or maybe the protocols are wrong, Taemin suggested. Breck, we've increased production 40% in 2 weeks. Not because we're stronger than you. Not because we're better at dominance. But because we used a different approach. Your approach destroys hierarchy. It makes workers forget their place. Does it? Taemin asked. The workers still have supervisors. There's still organization. But now, everyone contributes their knowledge. The result is a stronger operation, not a weaker one. If the weak are allowed to speak, chaos follows. The workers aren't weak, Breck. They're skilled, knowledgeable, and hardworking. You've been treating your greatest resource like it's worthless. Breck stood, his massive form towering over Taemin. You insult me. I'm trying to help you, Taemin said calmly. When the council sees these results, they'll ask why you never achieved them. You can say we use strange alien methods you couldn't have known about. Or you can say you were willing to learn a better way. One makes you look incompetent. The other makes you look wise. For a moment, something flickered in Breck's eyes. Uncertainty. Then his pride reasserted itself. I need no lessons from weak creatures who refuse combat. Leave my office. Taemin left, but he had planted a seed of doubt. The next day, High Dominance Kreth arrived unannounced for an inspection. He toured the facility, examined the production numbers, and interviewed workers. Breck followed him, trying to explain away the improvements. The humans have used tricks, Breck insisted. They have made workers soft. This cannot last. Kreth turned to a group of workers. Is this true? Are you soft now? One worker, encouraged by the changes, spoke up. High Dominance, we work harder now than ever before. We are proud of our work. The humans showed us that our skills matter. Another worker added, I have worked in mines for 30 years. I have never seen such efficiency. The humans ask our advice and listen to our answers. Kreth's eyes narrowed. You speak freely to High Dominance without permission. The workers suddenly looked terrified, realizing they had broken protocol. But you speak truth, Kreth continued. And you speak of pride in work. This is interesting. He turned to Taemin. Show me your methods in detail. For the next hours, the human team demonstrated everything. How they involved workers in problem solving. How medical care reduced injuries and improved productivity. How rest periods actually increased overall output. How utilizing everyone's knowledge led to better decisions. Kreth listened, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. These results are undeniable. Production is the highest in this mine's history. But Breck raises a valid concern. You have disrupted our social order. We've shown an alternative, Taemin corrected. Your social order still exists in your other territories. But here, we proved cooperation can work. Perhaps, Kreth said, but there is resistance to your methods. To continue, you must overcome it. Breck stepped forward. I formally challenge Captain Taemin to ritual combat. If he wins, his methods continue. If I win, all returns to proper Vrix order. I've told you, I won't fight you, Taemin said. Then you admit the superiority of dominance, Breck said triumphantly. No, Taemin replied. I admit that fighting you accomplishes nothing. The production numbers already prove our methods work. Combat doesn't change facts. Breck roared in frustration. You hide behind words. You are a coward. Enough, Kreth commanded. Captain Taemin, you refuse combat. This is your right. But Breck has a point. How do we resolve this disagreement? Before Taemin could answer, Kresh stepped forward from the crowd of workers. His ribs were still bandaged, but he stood straight. I, Dominance Kreth, I wish to speak. The entire area went silent. A low-status worker had just interrupted a conversation between high-ranking officials. This was unthinkable. Breck moved to strike Kresh, but Kreth held up a hand, stopping him. Speak, worker. Kresh's voice shook, but he continued. I have worked under High Dominance Breck for 12 years. In that time, I was beaten for showing skill, punished for suggesting improvements, and told my only value was in following orders. I believed this was correct. I believed I was weak and worthless beyond my labor. He paused, gathering courage. Then the humans came. They asked my opinion. They used my knowledge. They treated my skills as valuable. In 2 weeks, I have contributed more to the Empire than in 12 years of silent obedience. Kresh looked directly at Kreth. The humans did not make me soft. They made me useful. They did not destroy dominance. They showed that value comes from ability, not from who can hit hardest. Breck's face contorted with rage. Silence. You forget your place. No, Kresh said, and his voice grew stronger. For the first time, I know my place. I am a skilled engineer. My place is fixing machines and improving efficiency. That is how I serve the Empire best. The other workers began to murmur agreement. More voices joined in, telling similar stories of how the human methods had allowed them to contribute their true abilities. Breck looked around at his workers, seeing rebellion in their eyes. But it wasn't violent rebellion. It was something he had never encountered. Peaceful, confident assertion of worth. This is chaos, Breck said, but his voice lacked its earlier certainty. Kreth studied the scene carefully. This is not chaos. This is workers who take pride in their labor. Workers who feel valued. Workers who produce 40% more than ever before. He turned to Breck. You have been a strong overseer. You have won many dominance challenges. But these humans have won something you could not. The willing effort of every worker in this mine. Because they destroyed proper order. Breck protested. Or because proper order was not working, Kreth said. High dominance, Breck. You face a choice. Learn from these humans and make this mine the most productive in the Empire. Or refuse to learn and be replaced by someone who will. Breck stood frozen, every belief he held being challenged. His pride warred with his survival instinct. Taemin spoke quietly. Breck, accepting new methods doesn't make you. The final week of the 30-day trial brought unexpected changes. Breck, still struggling with his pride, began to watch how the humans worked. He didn't participate at first, just observed. Tae-Min noticed him watching Yuna train workers on equipment maintenance. Want to join us? The captain asked. I am observing, Breck said stiffly. Not participating? Observing is the first step, Taemin replied with a slight smile. 2 days later, Breck asked his first question. A drilling machine had a problem that none of the workers could solve. Instead of beating them for failure, he came to Yuna. The humans claim to value expertise, he said, clearly uncomfortable. You are expert in machines. What is wrong with this one? Yuna examined it, then called over 3 workers, including Kresh. It's a complex problem. We need to collaborate. Kresh, you know the history of this machine. What's it done before when it made this sound? Together, they solved the problem in an hour. Something that would have taken days under the old system. Breck watched, fascinated despite himself. You allowed the workers to contribute equally with you. Because they have knowledge I don't have, Yuna explained. I know machine theory. They know this specific machine. Together, we're smarter than any of us alone. This is strange, Breck admitted. But effective. Sojin made progress too. She had been training Vrix workers in basic medical care. You can't call me every time someone gets hurt, she explained. But if workers know how to treat minor injuries, serious ones happen less often. The Vrix workers were amazed that they were being taught skills usually reserved for high-status medical officers. One worker asked, but if we know medicine, what makes medical officers special? They know more medicine, Sojin said simply. Everyone has different levels of knowledge. That's good. It means we can all keep learning. G1 documented the cultural shift happening. This is fascinating. The workers are starting to see themselves differently. Not as weak ones who obey, but as skilled people who contribute. Sang-Ho had created a communication system where workers could report problems or suggest improvements without fear. "We're getting dozens of good ideas every day," he told Taemin. Things the workers noticed but never dared mention before. By the end of the third week, production had increased by 70%. Equipment failures were down 85%. Worker injuries had dropped 90%. And perhaps most remarkably, worker morale was high for the first time in the mine's history. High Dominance Kreth returned for the final evaluation. This time, he brought other members of the Vrix Council. They walked through the mine in silence, watching workers who moved with purpose and energy. One council member stopped Kresh. "You, what is your designation?" "I am Kresh, council member. I am a maintenance engineer, specializing in drilling equipment." "You speak with confidence. Do you not fear punishment for addressing council without submission?" Kresh paused, choosing his words carefully. "I have learned that my skills serve the Empire better when I use them fully. The humans taught me that having knowledge is not the same as challenging authority. It is simply having knowledge." Another council member spoke to a group of workers. "Under the old system, you were beaten regularly. Under the new system, you are not. Do you not simply avoid work now that you feel no fear?" One worker, an older Vrix named Daesung, answered. "Council member, I work harder now than ever before. Not from fear, but from pride. When my suggestions improve the mine, I feel I have truly served the Empire. Fear made me do the minimum to avoid punishment. Pride makes me do my best." The council members exchanged glances. This was unlike anything in their experience. They gathered in the administrative building with Taemin, Kreth, and Breck. "The results are extraordinary," one council member admitted. "Production has never been higher. But we must address the philosophical problem. You have undermined our entire social structure." "We've shown an alternative," Taemin corrected gently. "Your social structure still exists everywhere else. But here, we proved that cooperation can coexist with hierarchy." "How?" Another council member demanded. "Our society is built on dominance. The strong rule, the weak obey. This is natural law." Ji-won spoke up. "It's natural law for you because your species evolved that way. Humans evolved differently. We survived not by being the strongest individuals, but by being the best cooperators. Both strategies work. Neither is absolutely right or wrong. But if we accept your methods," a council member said, "we admit our entire civilization has been wrong for millennia." "Or," Taemin suggested, "you accept that your civilization was right for you, but that there are other ways that might work in specific situations. You don't have to change everything. Just be open to alternatives when they prove effective." Breck, who had been silent, finally spoke. "Council members, I resisted these methods with all my strength. I saw them as an insult to everything we are. But I cannot deny the results. This mine produces more than any in the Empire. And it does so with fewer injuries, less equipment failure, and workers who actually want to do their jobs well." Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. "I am still learning to lead this way," Breck continued, his voice rough. "It does not come naturally to me. But I have come to understand that being a strong leader means getting the best results, not just enforcing obedience through fear." Kreth studied Breck with new respect. "You have changed your mind. This took great strength. The humans taught me that admitting you were wrong is not weakness," Breck said. "It is the first step to being right." The council members debated among themselves in their own language. Finally, they reached a decision. "We accept the results of this experiment," the lead council member announced. "The humans have proven that their methods can be effective. But this creates a problem for the Vrix Empire. We cannot simply abandon our ways. Yet we cannot ignore success. What do you propose? Taemin asked. A compromise, Kreth said. We declare humans neither superior nor inferior to Vrix. We are incompatible species with different social structures. Where our methods work, we use them. Where human methods work better, we learn from them. We establish cooperative zones and share knowledge. And what about the workers here? Sojin asked. What happens to them when we leave? Brek will remain as overseer, Kreth said. But he will continue the human methods. Other Vrix who wish to learn these methods may come here to train. We will not force all of our empire to change, but we will allow those who choose to change the freedom to do so. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. One council member added, there is one more matter. The validator. Your behavior broke it because you do not fit into dominance categories. This troubles us deeply. How can we interact with a species we cannot categorize? The same way you'd interact with a weather pattern or a mathematical problem, Jiwin suggested. Not everything in the universe fits into dominance hierarchies. Some things just are. You work with them, not over them or under them. Humans are not things, another council member protested. Exactly, Taemin said. We're partners, equals. Different but equal. That's the basis for real cooperation. The discussions continued for hours, working out the details of the alliance. The Vrix would remain hierarchical in their core territories, but would establish joint operations with humans where both methods could be used. They would share technology and knowledge. They would learn from each other. On a final day, Crash came to say goodbye to the human team. Captain Taemin, I want to thank you. You gave me back my value. We just recognized what was already there, Taemin said. Will you return? Crash asked. Maybe someday, but you don't need us anymore. You know how to value yourself and others. That's all we really taught you. Crash smiled, a strange expression on a Vrix's face but genuine. Then I will teach others. The change will spread slowly, but it will spread. Yuna hugged him, surprising the Vrix with human affection. Take care of those machines, and take care of yourself. As the Taigek explorer prepared to depart, High Dominance Kreth requested one final meeting with Taemin. Captain, I must know. When you faced the Validator, when you faced Brek's challenges, when you faced our entire civilization's skepticism, were you never afraid? Of course I was afraid, Taemin admitted. But fear doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you're trying something new. And if we had rejected your methods? If we had forced you to submit? Taemin smiled. Then we would have left, knowing we tried. But you didn't reject us. You listened. That took more courage than any dominance challenge. I begin to understand, Kreth said slowly. Strength is not just physical. It is also the strength to change, to learn, to accept being wrong. Now you're thinking like a human, Taemin said with a grin. Perhaps, Kreth replied. Or perhaps I am thinking like a Vrix who has learned from humans. There's a difference. Back on the bridge, the crew gathered as they left Vrix 7 behind. Did we just change an entire civilization? Sangho asked. We cracked it open a bit, G1 said. Whether it changes fully depends on them, not us. We showed them another way was possible, Sojin added. That's all we could do. Yuna looked at the view screen showing the receding planet. I'm going to miss Kresh. He was so eager to learn. He'll do great things, Taemin said. They all will. We gave them permission to value themselves.